Good morning, my name is Caryn Bonham and I'm excited for students 3rd grade math to understand a fraction as the quantity is formed by one part when the whole is portioned into equal parts. So I know some of you guys enjoy eating a sandwich. So I have here a sandwich. Now, many of you guys may not like to share, but sometimes your parents want you to share with maybe another sibling. So if I have one whole sandwich, how can I share it with another person? So then there would be 2 people. You're right, you would just cut it in half. So if I had sharing with another person, then I could take my whole sandwich and cut it into 2 parts. So you would eat 1/2 or 1 of the 2 parts, and the other person would eat 1/2 or 1 of the 2 parts. But that still is the same one whole sandwich. So we just parted it into a fraction. You just did a fraction. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be learning how to see how other fractions represent in real situations. And if we have time, we can understand fractions in a number line. So what if I had this same sandwich and 2 more friends came over? So then you would have 4 people. You're right. If you cut each half into 2 more parts, and they would be equal, then from that whole sandwich, I would have 1/4, so 1 out of the 4 parts for one person. I would have another 1/4 out of the 4 parts, 1 out of the 4 parts for my second person, and I would have 1 out of the 4 parts, 1/4 for the third person, and then my last friend or yourself, you would have 1/4, 1 out of the 4 parts for your last person or yourself. So as I'm doing these, so that was my first example, but boys and girls, so as I'm doing this, go ahead and push your raise hand button if you have questions, or if you want to answer my question as we're going along, and I'll press your mic open. Or if you aren't understanding anything, go ahead and push your thumbs down button, and I'll understand that you have some more questions or you're not quite understanding it, and I can do some other practices either as the whole group, or we can split off, and I can let the people that are understanding go off and complete their assignment on their own or with a parent, and I can group the people that are having thumbs down. But if you are understanding things, go ahead and push a thumbs up so I kind of understand that you are doing a great job and you are understanding it. Well, I know many of you guys love graham crackers, and see how this whole graham cracker, they even kind of help you split it into these parts, okay? So as I'm doing this, I'm showing you different examples, and you can play along or you can just participate with your buttons, okay? So if I have a whole graham cracker and we're going to show, let's say 1/4. So if I want to show 1/4, well, how many parts am I going to have to show a total? Well, I have 1 whole here, and if I want only 1/4 for myself, then that part, it's going to have 4 parts, isn't it? Because I'm going to have 1 of those parts. So I have to separate my whole into 4 equal parts. So I'm going to separate it into 4 equal. It didn't go into equal, but you understand. So I'm going to put it into 4 equal parts. So do you see how I kind of cried a little bit? It has to be equal, or fractions don't work, because then the person doesn't get equally amount to the other person. So see how these have to be equal? So, for example, so if I want to represent, I'm going to eat 1/4, I have to have 4 equal parts if I'm going to have 1/4 of those. So here's that 4 parts from my whole. Okay, so I portioned it into parts just like I had in my learning target for today for you guys. I'll understand a fraction as the quantity is formed by 1 part, here's my part, when the whole is portioned into equal parts, and I just parted it into equal parts. So here's my 1/4. Well, what if I asked you, I wanted to eat 2/4 of my cracker. So if I wanted 2/4, then I would be eating 2 of those whole parts. Okay, so if I have 2 of those whole parts, then I would count out 1/4, 2/4, and I would have 2 left over, right? So I would eat 2 out of those 4 parts. So that would be 2/4. Now, who has those hands up? I see some good thumbs up. Now I'm gonna have a trickier question for you. What if I put that back into my full graham cracker? Do you remember my full graham cracker? It was like this. What if I ate 2/4 of my graham cracker? Is there another way that I could say that? Oh, I see some hand raising. Good job. Now I see some hand raising, so I'm going to call you out. Go ahead and tell me. Oh, let me get my hand. Alexis, go ahead and tell me, what do you think? What if I said I wanted 2/4? Is there another way that I could say that? Alexis, you're right. If I have 2/4, so here are those small parts, those 1, 2, 3, and 4. But look, if I just separated this just like this, and I kept these 2 together and these 2 together, those could actually be 1 part, 2 parts. I could also say that it's 1/2, or 1 out of 2. 1, 2, I ate 1/2. So that's how you can see equalization too. So we're going to learn in that a little bit later. But I wanted to show you something a little bit exciting, that what we can do in the future. So that's a little bit of what we're going to be doing for our learning target of I understand a fraction as a quantity is full by 1 part when the whole is portioned into equal parts. Now, I'm glad that you guys were raising your hands, and some of you had some thumbs down. So I'm going to go ahead and separate you off and give you a quick 4 questions about to give you a quick ticket out. So if you can answer these 4 quick questions, then you can go ahead and ticket out for this lesson. And if you don't get all 4 of those correct, you only get 3 correct, I'll give you that quick ticket out too. But if you get 2 or only 1 correct, I kind of want you to stay on board, and we have a couple other things that we can practice with so that you get a little bit better at fractions. Now, another thing that you guys can do is ask your parents. I'll send them an email, but ask your parents about splashlearn.com to look into that, because that's great practice as well for you with fractions and some things that we're going to be continuing in the next lesson ahead. Okay, so I am super excited for your fractions and how well you guys are doing. So don't forget to do that 4 questions so that I know whether or not you're ready to move on, or if you need to stick on board and do a couple other things. Okay. All right, now, so those are the things that I would possibly do with a student class. And as you can see, I did an example with the crackers for them. So that's a lot of things that I could do. I have some pieces of paper that I would have them separate into strips. And I was gonna have them do as a we do, show them how we can separate each of these strips, and they would make these strips on their own as they're watching me. So all of these are wholes, and then we would separate them into 1/2, into thirds, into fourths, into sixths, into eighths. So then that's what we can do together, and then we can kind of show them how one whole can be separated into all of those individual parts. So you do, as the students would do, like I said, I would make up a 4-question kind of a quick ticket so that they could go on and move on to the next lesson if they were proficient at fractions, these basic fractions, and then they could move on to the number line standard. But if they didn't have a proficiency and they only could answer correctly 2 out of the 4, or 1 out of the 4, or 0 out of the 4, then I would kind of pull them aside and continue doing the do a couple of I do examples, and then we would do a couple of them together. So that is my lesson. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy your day.